When we first encountered this dog, it wasn't just a heartbreaking sight, it was devastating. The pain and suffering he had endured was almost palpable. One of his eyes, which should have reflected life and joy, was completely missing, replaced by a necrotic cavity. And not only that, this cavity was infested with maggots. Maggots were crawling inside his body, building a nest there, as if that empty space had become their home. It was a terrifying sight. We were stunned, wondering how something so cruel could have happened to this poor dog. He was exhausted, his last remnants of strength drained by days, perhaps weeks of neglect and suffering. As soon as we loaded him into the car, he collapsed. His body simply gave up. Time became our greatest enemy, and we raced against him to get him to the nearest vet. We didn't know if he would survive this journey, but we had to try. Urgency drove us. As soon as we arrived, the doctors sprang into action immediately. First aid was quick and intense. The dog's condition was critical. It was unbelievable that he was still breathing. Surgery was performed with extreme urgency. The necrotic area needed to be cleaned, which involved a painful process of removing dead tissue and infection, as well as suturing the wounds. The vets knew that every minute was crucial. All night long, we kept watching for every breath, every little sign that he might be getting better or, at worst, getting worse. The fear of losing him was overwhelming. After 3 days of apprehension, he finally opened his eyes. It was an indescribable relief. But that didn't mean his problems were over. Quite the opposite. Subsequent tests revealed a series of other complications. His liver and kidneys were severely damaged, and his blood was infested with parasites. He was on the edge of survival. His body barely had the strength to fight. We feared the worst at times, preparing ourselves for the possibility that he might not make it. But somehow he found the strength to keep fighting. On the 15th day, we saw something that filled us with hope. He managed to get up. Fragile and hesitant, but he walked. Just seeing that small body, so weak and injured, stand up on its own was a miracle in itself. He moved with difficulty, with a noticeable limp. It was clear that something was wrong with his legs. And when we did the scans, the diagnosis was devastating. We discovered that one of his legs was broken. The bone had healed, but incorrectly. This meant that he had lived with a poorly healed fracture for a long time, possibly years. The pain he must have endured was unimaginable. It was hard to understand how anyone could allow an animal to suffer so much without doing anything. We were determined to find who was responsible. We immediately reported the case to the authorities. The investigation began, and in time, we were informed that a woman had found this dog near a garbage dump. He was wandering alone, visibly weakened, aimless, as if he were on the verge of death. Finding him was like looking for a needle in a haystack, given the vastness and chaotic state of the area. But the most shocking thing was knowing that he had probably been abandoned there by someone. Someone had left him in that state, without care, without compassion. A month and a half after the surgery, his stitches had begun to heal well. The doctor's work to try to fix his leg was also progressing. Every small sign of recovery was a victory. And then, after 2 long months, the long-awaited day arrived. He was ready to be discharged from the veterinary hospital. He now had a new name, Augustin. And more than a name, he had a new beginning. I took him home, determined to make sure he never had to go through anything like that again. What Augustin had faced was a nightmare, a true horror from which he was slowly waking up. But I deeply believe that love is capable of healing the deepest wounds. And Augustin, with his incredible willpower, began to show signs of emotional recovery as well. Walking, which had previously been a painful and distressing process, was now becoming easier every day. The vet gave us the good news that he would not need additional surgery to correct his leg. Now, Augustin is ready for a new life, a life filled with love, security, and happiness. Every step he takes is a testament to all the effort and dedication we have put into his recovery. And seeing his progress, his transformation, is the most rewarding reward we could have imagined. He didn't just survive, he flourished. And that, for all of us who have followed him on this journey, is proof that even in the darkest of situations, love and care can transform lives. Thank you for being a part of this journey with Augustin. He is the bravest and most incredible dog we have ever met, and we are certain that his new life will be filled with joy and lots of affection. The nightmare is behind him, and now he has a beautiful journey ahead of him.